Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jan, and in this video I want to tell you a little bit about again my background and how many jobs I had before I became, let's say, forex trader, blogger, and working from home through the internet. And I just want to make this video as a little bit of motivational for many of you. You know, we are right now in a very hard situation too, and a lot of you are worried about your jobs. Some people might lose some jobs, and I just want to motivate you. Don't get too upset, don't give up, and be positive, and look for new opportunities. There is always an opportunity which might be much better than what you have right now. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, guys, to tell you about when I used to live in Russia, and before I moved to England, which was in about 2004, end of 2004, 2005, I have been looking for a good job in Russia, and it was extremely hard. You just can't believe how bad it was when I was looking for a job. And so I'll just tell you, so what's those jobs? So first, I have been working while I was still at school, so it was summer job, let's say, yeah. And I have been working as a secretary, so that's position I had as with my mom, as she was working at some private company, and she was working as a person who was looking like a head hunt, something like that, right? So so she was also doing the secretary job and work with all the documents, because at this time, as you know, I made the previous video where I told you I was born in USSR, and then USSR collapsed, and we had most worst time ever. It was perestroika, and I would have to tell you that, guys, those days when perestroika was, we had no work, no jobs, nothing. People were suffering. They had no salary for months. They were not paid, and they had nothing to eat, nothing to wear. They couldn't go anywhere because everything's collapsed. The factories stopped, the plants stopped and started to be destroyed. Destroyed in a way that nobody's working there, so they're falling apart. And teachers had no salaries at all. Like doctors had no money at all. They were all looking for selling things. You know, at that time, all they could do is to sell stuff, because some people were exchanging with them something else, like some goods in exchange for the service. You know, you help someone, you get some, instead of money, you get like some of the something you can try to sell afterwards to get some money. So of course there were some other people who were smart enough, and they were trying to use the situation and make a lot of money out of it, you know. But the masses, a lot of us, and something like me and my parents, we were not that smart, you know. And as my mom was a teacher, and my mom and dad were divorced at that time, and dad ended up in another country, so we had no help, nothing at all. And so my mom started to meet another man, of course, and that's my stepdad now, and he was helping, of course, my mom and me, and a little bit to us, so we wouldn't starve to death from, like, you know, nothing to eat at all. And that's how my mom actually found this other job, which is what was in that company, which was a little bit like started to be, a lot of private companies started to appear those days, because nobody knew what they can do, what they can't do. So that's why a lot of commercial companies and private companies started to appear. And of course there were a lot of bad guys who were trying to take an advantage of those other guys who actually tried to do something. So a lot of criminals end up like trying to take from those guys, and a lot of people were killed. I actually call it civil war. Even though they don't say it's a civil war, but I tell you guys, it was like a civil war, because people were shooting at each other, and a lot of people disappeared those days, and a lot of people were killed those days. And so like my mom says, because my mom and dad, they started to have like their own little company, and they also had to meet those bad guys. But you either deal with those bad guys, you know, it's like racketeers they call it. I think you must have it wherever you are, maybe 30s or 40s. Well, in Russia it was in 90s. And so if you make a deal with them, and if they okay with it, you can still continue do your stuff. If you disagree, usually you just disappear. or they can collect your business to themselves and make you to pass it to them. So that was extremely bad days, guys. I'm trying to remember this. It's like a nightmare. So can you imagine, thousands, if not millions of people end up jobless, even though we had homes, a lot of people had houses from USSR times, at least they had somewhere to live, but nothing to eat and nothing to pay bills. So yeah, that was the days. Those the days. I still was at school though. So so my mom got quite a lot hit by this, and so of course I was like, because I didn't have enough money, I was looking for job all the time. So I was just like, I want, I'm growing up, I want to have nice clothes. We're watching the American movies. We want to have more nice clothes because mom came from America, and of course, wherever she brought, some of the clothes we sold because we didn't have money to eat, and that's why, it's like I was looking like, and she brought some money from them, and we also used it. So we used all the money which she had, all the clothes that she had, pretty much half of it sold. And so it's like always like, we need to look for something, I need to look for something. Yeah, that was my first one, is the helping as a secretary. But my proper job, I would call, where I actually earned myself. And because of this job with mom, was just like some little money which I didn't even see because mom was taking them for buying us food. And then so the second job was that I was a salesperson, like on the street, face to face, door to door. I had a video about it before, like how I made my first million, because at that time we still had millions, and that's how I made my own first millions, because that job I found myself. All the other jobs I found myself, and nobody helped me ever, and that's how I felt, like I'm just going to do it all myself. No matter how hard it is, I will go and find it myself. I didn't want to be in debt to anybody. So yes, as a salesperson, again, it was a summer job while I was still at school, and I told you about this in another video. You can watch it. It was a really good experience though. The next one, I was working again summer. I finished school, went to university, entered, and we had spare time with my friend, like 2 months still. And again, instead of having a rest, we decided to find another job as a team of the candidate into the I don't know, just like, it's really hard to say, but candidate of into the, in every town, like you have a mayor, and every mayor in Russia, like, yeah, you have it's not like a party, but it's like we also still have parties, but it was like independent members of the government in our town. So one of the candidates of the member of the future government, so we were in his team, so we were agitating and working with people to vote for him to become a member of the government. So that's another job I got, which was, everybody was like so impressed as we found this little job, because everybody thought it was really hard to find a job like this. So you're saying you probably have somebody in government to get. No, all my jobs I was finding actually newspapers. We didn't have any internet to look for or anything else, so that was just newspapers, and that's where I found it, another job. So then the fourth job was I was a sales assistant in Photoshop. So yeah, that was also, I found it through the newspapers adverts, and this was also just a little bit of the part-time work in summer at the end of my university time. During university in summer I didn't work because actually I was a bit tired of the studying. It was harder than at school, and we also were a little bit fooled by our university, because they were promising us pretty much every year. They were saying that, hey guys, okay, you study this year, and in summer we will send you as an exchange student to another country. For example, the first time they promised us to send to Germany, and we were just like, wow, it's like, we were so happy that we will be able to go to Germany to do some summer work, because it was agricultural university, so they promised us to take somewhere on the field, like, in a farm or anything like that. And I remember I bought like a little book where it was like learn German in a week or something, and I actually had a little bit of knowledge of German, but main one was still English, right? So a little bit more of English, but it was really hard. And my friend, one of the friends, found some courses in German, and they had it in the tapes. Can you imagine the old tapes? And he actually copied it from the other tape machine, and then like gave it to me and the other guys who we thought we will go. So like our group of the best students were supposed to go, but it never happened. And then another year they promised us to send us to Spain also to harvest, for the harvest, go somewhere in the farm, and they lied to us again. So unfortunately, so they wasted my time at that moment, and I never went anywhere. And also I wasted that because I couldn't go and get another job in summer, because we were waiting when is that moment, because they could have told us any moment, hey, you have to collect your bags now, belongings, and we take you to this country as an exchange. The students, I don't know, you see, we were not very lucky. I know that other universities actually did it to the students. Our university, I don't know, so unlucky. So that was the next one. Yes, I was, so that's why I decided the last year, summer, I need to go and have, find a work a little bit in the shop or wherever I could to be, get some money. So then afterwards, after finishing university, of course, it was really hard to find job because I had no experience, right, with my degree. And in Russia, before it was UNSSR, when you finish university, they would usually get you a job. They will send you into somewhere, it could be anywhere in USSR those days. So you could have started in Moscow, but ended up somewhere in Vladivostok. But they all stopped it with the what you call it, perestroika. And so we end up on the street like, where are we supposed to go now? Because if we go into some of the factory, because you don't have an experience, they don't want you. So the only you could do is somebody will introduce you. So like if you need to ask some friends, you need to ask favors. And I told like my parents, my mom again, I said, no, I don't want anyone's favors again. I will still try to find myself. I will try and do way myself. And because in Russia, in Saratov, the jobs, the salary was only 1,000 rubles. Can you imagine, guys? $50. Wait, it's about $40. Around $40 was our average salary in Saratov. And when you consider that you could buy, I mean, let's say meat, $2 maybe. No, it's about two. Yes, about $2-3 for a kilo of meat. So can you imagine how expensive, how small the salary was? You know, when I was looking for the job in Saratov, I went in one, and while we were standing in queue, and one of the girls said, wow, like $45 is a good salary. I'm just saying it's not, because you're going to spend all this money on food. You have nothing left. And she's like, oh, I have no worry about it. I'm having all my food from my summer house. Because, you know, Russians is very popular with the summer houses when they have their own fruits and vegetables, and some grow in having the chickens or cow or something. I'm just saying, well, lucky you, so she would use this money for just clothes and pay bills. But I say, I don't have a summer house, so I need a job where I can actually have enough money to buy food, clothes, and pay bills. So that's why I was like, okay, I have to go somewhere else. And then I decided to go to Moscow. Yeah, so I went to Moscow and I spent there about a year, looking for also different sorts of jobs. And one of the jobs there was an host, is a host? I forgot. in a restaurant, okay? I was working in, actually I was working in the bowling as a host, right? Or host? I'm just like, I'm completely lost the word. Okay, so yeah, in the bowling place, like a cafe, bowling, and yeah. So then I returned to Saratov, and I was work as an accountant. Believe it or not, yes, I had some classes, accounting classes, and I worked as an accountant. And also I worked as a cashier. And then on the 7th, I was a manager working with the clients, but I ended up in a company which is a Ponzi scheme. I didn't know when I went there, and I will probably make a little bit of, if you're interested, I will make different I'll take a little parts of the jobs, more interesting ones, and tell you a little bit about it. Afterwards, I got another job, and that was the dream job I actually dreamed about in a big company, mobile company in my town. It was a dream job because actually when I was looking for a job, I was hoping to find a good job in a big company. That was my dream, in a big company, and like from beginning of it. Because usually when you get in a big company and everybody knows each other, so they're more friendly to each other, and I've been through so many things trying to get into a team of people who already working, and they don't usually like to take you as easy. But when you are all from scratch, you don't know each other, that's the best way. And that was like my dream came true. I got exactly what I wanted. Huge company, well known in Russia, and they were opening an office in our town, so like a branch. And so I was right at the beginning, first in that branch, in the first team, and competition was huge, guys. You wouldn't believe it. We had whole town, whole city, maybe even the surrounding towns came for that interview. It was, I will try to find maybe pictures, if I'll find something, I'll try to find. It was like it was like a parade, because it was surrounded by people, young people trying to get interview. That was my last job in Russia before I left. So yeah, that was my greatest achievement while I was still in Russia, guys. So that's it. Afterwards, I got to know my future husband, got married, and left Russia, went to UK. And of course, in UK, I also didn't want to sit at home and do nothing. And at that time, I was still not into much of internet. It was only starting to get to me, and I only started to learn more forex, online marketing. We started to go to different seminars, but while we were doing all that part, like trying to learn some things about how to earn from internet, I was working as a promoter, promo model. That was my main job, and in between I was learning how to earn from internet. Together with my husband, we were doing that. So that's, guys, the story of my life, I would say. With another part of it, a big part of it, you see how many looking for work. It was so hard, guys, especially when I actually came back from Moscow, right? And I was looking for a job in Saratov again, and you can't believe it, I was only 20 something, like 21 or 22, and they didn't want to take me because smaller companies, right, they were worried that you are a girl around age of 20s, not married and don't have kids, and they didn't want to take you because if you get married and have kids, you don't work and the company has to pay, and they didn't want to do it. And that's why I had so many rejections just because of that. So they would look at my papers, resume, CV, saying, yeah, all good, okay, like everything's perfect, but you're not married, you don't have a child, sorry, we can't take you. So they were just telling me like this, so I knew exactly why, because I was asking, what is this? If you think I don't have much experience, because I wasn't like, okay, I was like more like, okay, can you explain to me why I'm not good for you? I was like, and they were telling me, sorry, that's why. They were honest, so that's why they didn't want to take me. So that's why, guys, I'm saying, if you have something in your life, like, I don't know, stopping you from doing something, stopping you from changing your life, changing your lifestyle, get from one job to another job, don't be scared of this. I mean, I know a lot of companies don't like when they see you changing too many positions, right? You go from one job to another job, you have to explain it, you have to talk to people, when you explain, you talk, they understand you better. And don't be scared of changing something in your life. If you don't like what you're doing now, or you just look for something. You see, I have been, every time I was getting some of the jobs, I felt, okay, this one is okay, but I can see it's temporarily. I'm not going to work here all the time, I'm going to find something else. And I was looking for something else, and I was finding some other one, and I thought that was good. or wasn't good enough, and then I was looking for another one, you see, every time, until I actually finally got what I wanted. You see, like that in Russia, it was the top of the my dreams. And if I would have stayed in Russia, in working in this company, by now I would probably get into a quite higher and higher level. Maybe I would have been in Moscow now. We had, after the branch was actually opened, we had a lot of many other smaller offices all over our town. So can you imagine what the level for me would be? That's why I wanted that, and I got that, exactly what I wanted. But you see, afterwards, even when I thought I had the perfect job, it's all changed. You see, guys, it's all changed afterwards. And I wasn't scared, because when I found this wonderful job, and actually when I got to know my husband and thinking to leave, I actually was promoted. Okay, so I was promoted, and I had to say no. Can you believe this? The dream job, and I had to say no to a promotion, because at that time I was already in love with my husband, and I chose love instead of career and money. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time. Bye everyone.